My name's Elena. I'm calling from Virginia, Alexandria, so right south of D.C., if you know the area.
A little bit. What's on your mind, Elena?
Well, I really wanted to talk about Marianne Williamson. I wanted to listen a bit more deeply what your thoughts are on her. And start that conversation.
I mean, to be totally honest, I don't have any deep thoughts on her. There are some things that I've heard her say that I don't necessarily agree with. There's some things, there are some positions that she has I do agree with. I tend not to be, as a person, some of her spiritual stuff doesn't necessarily resonate with me, but I don't necessarily have a problem with it. It's just my personality. But my feeling is more generic about her than that. Or my position, which is we do need someone who is going to be articulating a more progressive view than Joe Biden represents in the primary. And I honestly don't know who that person is going to be. And I don't even know necessarily who I'd want it to be. She would not be my first choice for those reasons, but we need somebody. And so I'm certainly supportive of the idea that she would run in a primary. I am these days pretty much every primary, all primaries are good.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I hear you. The problem that I have, I think a little bit of what the media, you can say, the mainstream media and also independent media, is that they're really harping hard on the whole spirituality thing. And I feel really, frankly, that it's almost a way of kind of defanging people that actually have very radical and progressive positions. I don't want to echo her too much, but, thinking of how Martin Luther King is kind of portrayed as, this good-hearted, visionary, loving Baptist minister who just wanted nothing more than equal treatment of African Americans, and history tends to whitewash the fact that he was a socialist. He espoused all these things about changing the economic system, actually recognizing that white Americans were also very poor, even, in some cases even more poor, and that it required an entire kind of systemic change. And, I just worry that the conversation has kind of become, entirely, not my dog, there's a dog outside, kind of overrun with like, voodoo,
Well, I mean, to be honest,
I just want to jump in. I want to say, like, the thing is like, it's not the spiritual, it's just idealistic. Like, regardless of the content of the spiritualism, it's sort of an idealistic thing. Like MLK, in addition to being more of a socialist than I think Marianne Williamson is, which isn't to insult Marianne Williamson, just like MLK was like more about that. Like MLK had a big coalition behind him. So that, to me, it's like, I think we like primary should be a place to engage on ideas, but really it's not super interesting until like when Bernie got like the nurses union and different groups like that to get behind him. Then it's actually like more than just a sort of a discourse thing.
And here's the thing is that like I tend to agree with your assessment of how the media is treating her, but that on some level is also why like she's not necessarily my preferred candidate, because I also understand she's not going to win. She doesn't have a movement behind her. She has no, infrastructure, and it's a completely different animal. She is running an issue campaign. I don't know what that issue is going to be, but it is what Bernie essentially tried to do in 2016, which is he was just running to raise certain issues. In that campaign, it was really money in our politics and the power of essentially the 1%. And she's not the best person to do that because of the fact that she has this baggage about spirituality. Yes, it would be nice if our media did not use whatever they can to discredit left perspectives, but they're going to. And in a perfect world, I'd rather not spend the time lamenting on the ease in which they're able to dismiss some of her ideas, which I am supportive of. In a perfect world, that would be great if that didn't exist, but it does. And so, particularly when we're running an issue campaign or like essentially a messaging campaign, the messenger becomes, important in that respect. But yeah, I share your lament, but I wouldn't spend too much time on it.
Yeah, well, everything you were saying about Bernie Sanders, it is something that she has echoed. It's one thing that I've admired from her, and I guess maybe this time around, is that she's really very clear on making a campaign focused on the economic, the economic position. She doesn't delve into just for context, I just want to say, I'm an atheist. Like, I am a staunch atheist. Like, just the mere mention of God makes me break out in hives. But there were things that she said, that even to me, someone that is not really in that world, it spoke to me, and.
Well, maybe she'll be able to resonate. I mean, I'm not discounting your perspective. Maybe that will resonate with people. I mean, the tricky part is to assume that the media is going to ignore those things. Like, why do we know her name?
Yeah. The thing, she did take a path to kind of, espouse universal truths through a more spiritual route. Some people take the political route, or the activist route. She felt more comfortable speaking in a more...
I'm not denigrating it. I'm just saying that, that comes with a certain amount of baggage. Look, I didn't like anything about Hillary Clinton, not anything. There were a lot of things I did not like about Hillary Clinton's politics, but it was also undeniable. One of the things that made her a flawed candidate, regardless of whether you supported her platform or her politics or whatever, one of the things that made her a flawed candidate, just as a pure assessment as a product within the American political system, is that there had been a cottage industry built around tearing her down and creating fictions about her, ones that weren't even the issues that I had with her politics. And that's just a reality. It's just a reality. When you're looking for a standard bearer, you can't go back in time and fix certain things. You're looking for the best one you can in that moment. And right now, Marianne Williamson is it. There could be somebody else who comes into the race who, you may think is a better standard bearer for those issues. I may think is a better standard, bearer for those issues. We'll see.
So I'm just curious, if it really came down, let's just say, in a fantastical world where Marianne Williamson and Joe Biden were really like the only two options, equal influencer, I'm not sure. It was down to those two, and she actually had a shot. Who would you actually vote for? I'm just curious.
If she had a shot at winning the primary?
Yes.
Or what about the general?
You mean for the presidency?
Yeah.
To become president? I would want Marianne Williamson.
No, I'm asking you, telling me that you're giving me a hypothetical where she has a chance to win the primary. Does she also, in this hypothetical, have a legitimate chance to win the general election?
Yes. I mean, with her attributes and her
if there's a candidate whose policies I like better, who has an obvious ability to win in a general election, then yeah, I would be probably supportive of her. But but that's also if I had wings, could I fly? I'm not going to jump off a building right now to test that theory.
No, I understand, but you see how it's kind of like a self-fulfilling prophecy here, right? how
No, it's not a self-fulfilling prophecy. It's not a self-fulfilling prophecy. No, I'm sorry. I don't accept that. I am not capable of willing 100 million people to do something.
Or Bernie would have won.
Or Bernie would have won.
No, of course. I understand. I mean, we're all stuck in the same.
I guarantee you that when Marianne Williamson ends her campaign, there will be at least 150 million voters who have absolutely never heard her name.
Yeah, and I think that's a shame.
I mean, I'm not. It may very well be a shame, but this is, that is a problem. Now, there may be value in those 50 million people having heard what she said in a vigorous primary. And so, in that respect, I think there could be value in it. But we have to be understand that when we're being aspirational, we're being aspirational. And when we're making an assessment, that we have the ability to make an assessment. And so, it doesn't matter. I guess what I'm telling you is it doesn't matter whether, I want to vote for Marianne Williamson more than Joe Biden. I live in New York, and that makes it much easier for me to take votes that I don't think are going to empower Ron DeSantis or Donald Trump. What's important is that people remember what voting is. Voting is a way to get the most desirable outcome you can that is possible. That's all it is. And in a primary, the calculations are a little bit different than they are in a general election. So appreciate the call.
Thank you for the time.
All right,
appreciate it.
Bye-bye.